Inside Elon Musk's private world to the world, Elon Musk looks almost superhuman. He launches rockets into space, builds electric cars that changed an entire industry, talks about colonizing Mars, and controls companies shaping the future of artificial intelligence, robotics, transportation, and communication. He's often described as a genius, a visionary, maybe even the most influential entrepreneur alive. But behind the public myth is a far stranger story, because the deeper you look into Elon Musk's private world, the more complicated it becomes. A world driven by obsession, extreme pressure, loneliness, relentless ambition, and a mind that seems permanently at war with itself. This isn't just the story of a billionaire CEO. It's the story of a man whose personal habits, relationships, fears, and psychology appear deeply connected to the company's reshaping modern civilization. From sleeping on factory floors during near bankruptcy.
I was living in the factory in Fremont, and the one in Nevada.
To running multiple companies at once, to building an unconventional family while publicly talking about humanity's survival. Elon Musk doesn't separate his personal life from his mission. He turns his life into the mission, and that may be the real secret behind both his extraordinary success and his growing controversies. In this video, we're going inside Elon Musk's private world, uncovering the mindset, routines, relationships, inner conflicts, and ruthless decision-making behind Tesla, SpaceX, Neuralink, and the man trying to engineer the future itself. To understand the man who is described working 80 to 100-hour weeks and sleeping on factory floors to solve problems, you have to go back to the beginning. Long before the billions, there was a lonely, bullied boy in Pretoria, South Africa. Musk has described a childhood marked by a difficult and emotionally fraught relationship with his father, a man he has called a terrible human being. School wasn't any easier. He was a bookish, awkward kid who was so often lost in his own thoughts that his parents had his hearing tested, afraid he was deaf. He found his escape not with people, but in books and computers. He devoured science fiction, from Isaac Asimov's Foundation series to The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, texts that would later inform the philosophy of his companies. By age 12, he had taught himself to code and created his first video game, a space shooter called Blastar. He sold the code to a magazine for $500. It was the first glimpse of a mind that saw the world as a system to be understood, optimized, and, if necessary, rewritten. This relentless drive to escape and rebuild wasn't just about intellectual curiosity, it was about survival. He moved to Canada at 17, and his early ventures were defined by a Spartan, all-consuming work ethic. During the early days of Zip2, the company he started with his brother, he famously slept in the office and showered at a local YMCA to save time and money. This wasn't just hustle culture, it was the operating code of a young man who'd learned early on that success, and even survival, depended entirely on his own sheer force of will. The difficult crucible of his youth didn't break him. It forged him into a person with an exceptionally high tolerance for pain, risk, and isolation. It created an individual who was more comfortable with problems to be solved than with people to be understood, a trait that would define both his greatest triumphs and his most public struggles. Every hero's journey has its trials, and for Elon Musk, the abyss stared back in 2008 after the massive success of his first major venture, PayPal, which he co-founded and was later ousted from before its sale to eBay. Musk had poured his entire fortune, over $180 million, into two audacious, seemingly impossible dreams: electric cars and private rockets, Tesla and SpaceX. By 2008, both were on the brink of complete and utter collapse. SpaceX had suffered 3 consecutive catastrophic rocket launch failures. The narrative was brutal. A rich guy from Silicon Valley was burning his .com fortune on a hobby, trying to do what only superpowers had done before. Concerned friends reportedly begged him to stop before he lost everything. Tesla was hemorrhaging cash, Unable to scale production of its first car, the Roadster, and facing a torrent of public ridicule and skepticism, the global financial crisis was the final nail in the coffin. Credit markets froze. Musk was down to his last few $1 million. He had to make an unthinkable choice: save one company and let the other die, or split his remaining funds and risk them both failing. He chose the latter. As he later described it, he was borrowing money from friends just to make his living expenses. He was on the verge of personal and professional bankruptcy. This period reveals the core of Musk's psychology. Where others saw failure, he saw data points. Where others saw insurmountable risk, he saw a first principles problem to be solved. He doubled down. He pushed his teams harder, demanded more, and slept on the factory floor, believing that his physical presence could will the companies into survival. His work ethic became legendary, not as a lifestyle choice, but as a weapon of war against failure. He was known for a routine that, during intense periods, reportedly involved 80 to 100-hour work weeks. Then, in the final days of 2008, two miracles happened. SpaceX successfully launched its Falcon 1 rocket into orbit, proving its technology and securing a life-saving $1.6 billion contract from NASA. Days later, Musk cobbled together the last round of financing for Tesla, saving it from bankruptcy with literally hours to spare. It was the ultimate rise from the ashes narrative. He had stared into the void and had not blinked. He emerged from the fire not just as a survivor, but as a leader who now believed, with evidence, that his will alone could bend reality. This period cemented the legend, but it also hardened the man, reinforcing the belief that only a relentless, all-consuming obsession could achieve the impossible. The lessons learned in 2008 would become the blueprint for how he would run his empire for decades to come, especially during the Model 3 production hell years later. To understand what truly drives Elon Musk, you can't just look at his companies. You have to look at his relationships. For a man who seems to operate like a machine, his greatest vulnerability, and what some might interpret as his secret weapon, is deeply human. In a revealing interview with Rolling Stone, Musk made a startling admission for a titan of industry. "I cannot be happy if I am not in love." He confessed, "I will never be happy without having someone. Going to sleep alone kills me." This profound need for companionship, this aversion to being alone, is a central, recurring theme in his private world. It creates a fundamental tension at the heart of his life, a man whose work ethic demands near total isolation and sacrifice, yet who openly craves a deep, enduring partnership. This tension may be the hidden operating code for his entire empire. His romantic life has been a public and often turbulent saga. His first marriage was to author Justine Wilson, whom he met in college. Their first son, Nevada, tragically died of sudden infant death syndrome at just 10 weeks old. They went on to have 5 more sons, a set of twins and a set of triplets. Their divorce was contentious, with Justine later writing a viral article titled, "I Was a Starter Wife," describing a dynamic where she felt her identity was being subsumed by his all-encompassing ambition. He then entered into a repeating cycle of marriage and divorce, with actress Tallulah Riley marrying her twice. His subsequent relationship with the musician Grimes was perhaps his most publicly visible, a collision of tech futurism and avant-garde art. They have 3 children together, with names that became global conversation starters: XAAXA, Exa Dark Sidereal, and Techno Mechanicus. But the structure of his family life became even more complex. In 2021, it was revealed that he had fathered twins with Shivan Zilis, an executive at his company, Neuralink. As of early 2026, public reports indicate that with his children with Justine, Grimes, and Zilis, Musk is the father of at least 11 children. Some have interpreted Musk's approach to procreation through the same lens as his companies. He's a vocal proponent of the idea that humanity is facing a collapsing birth rate and has publicly framed his large family as his personal contribution to solving this problem. He's trying to set a good example as he sees it, but the personal accounts of the women in his life often paint a more complicated picture, one of a man who is incredibly compelling and brilliant, but whose mission-level obsession makes traditional partnership difficult. One of his oldest children, Vivian Jenna Wilson, has legally changed her name and gender, stating in court documents a desire to sever all ties, explaining she no longer lives with or wishes to be related to my biological father in any way, shape, or form. Musk has publicly attributed this estrangement to what he calls the woke mind virus, which he believes has taken his child from him. This web of relationships, co-parenting, and public statements isn't just a sideshow to his business ventures. It appears to be fundamentally intertwined. The relentless pursuit of a partner, the building of a large and unconventional family, these can be seen as attempts to solve for the variable of loneliness. It's a lonely, relentless pursuit, and one could argue that the very missions he creates to save humanity, to build a future on Mars, are a way to attract the connection and admiration he craves on a planetary scale. His need for companionship isn't a weakness in his operating system. It may be the primary driver of the entire machine. If you truly want to look inside Elon Musk's private world, you don't need a key to his house. You need a blueprint of his companies. Each one, Tesla, SpaceX, X, and Neuralink, can be seen as a direct reflection of a specific facet of his personality, a physical manifestation of his internal operating system. Tesla is the embodiment of his obsession with optimization and scale. Musk didn't just want to build an electric car. He wanted to reinvent the entire system of manufacturing. His infamous production hell periods, where he slept on the factory floor and micromanaged assembly lines, weren't just about meeting deadlines. They were about forcing a century-old industry to bend to his will. After years of declining sales for its legacy luxury models, Tesla officially ended production of the iconic Model S and Model X in 2026. The very cars that proved EVs could be desirable were retired, with Musk announcing the factory space would be repurposed to build the Optimus humanoid robot. It was a ruthless, unsentimental decision, a perfect reflection of a mind that prioritizes future potential over past glory. SpaceX is the purest expression of his civilization-level ambition. This is not just a business, it's a personal crusade. Founded with the explicit goal of making humanity a multiplanetary species, SpaceX operates with a culture that mirrors Musk's own high tolerance for risk and failure. The mantra, rapid prototyping, means building, flying, crashing, and learning at a pace that leaves traditional aerospace companies bewildered. As of mid-2026, after years of speculation, SpaceX is reportedly on the verge of a historic IPO, with a potential listing as early as June. The reported valuation has soared, with some analysts putting it near $2 trillion, fueled by its dominance in the launch and satellite internet markets, and a merger with his AI company, XAI. X, formerly Twitter, is his personality unfiltered, direct, combative, and chaotic. Since acquiring the platform, Musk has treated it less like a business to be managed and more like a personal laboratory for public discourse. The rapid, often unpredictable changes to features and policies are a direct extension of his own communication style. He uses the platform as a personal megaphone, a place to share memes, engage with critics, and launch attacks, all with little to no corporate filter. For better or worse, X is the company most visibly shaped by Musk's own online persona, a real-time feed of his interests, grievances, and impulses. Finally, Neuralink represents his desire for transcendence and control over the human future, while Tesla and SpaceX aim to change how we live on Earth and beyond. Neuralink aims to change what it means to be human. As of early 2026, the company has made significant strides, moving from theory to practice. Following initial FDA clearance, human trials have expanded, with reports indicating over 20 participants had received implants by the end of 2025. Musk himself has announced ambitious plans for 2026, targeting a move toward high-volume production and an almost entirely automated surgical procedure with the eventual goal of implanting thousands of devices annually to treat conditions like paralysis. From optimizing factories to launching rockets, from controlling information to interfacing with the brain, his empire is not a collection of disparate businesses. It is a portrait of a single, powerful, and contradictory mind, laid bare for the world to see. This is a story that is still being written, with new chapters unfolding in real time. If you want to keep up with the ever-evolving world of Elon Musk and the technologies that are shaping our future, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. And let us know in the comments, do you see Elon Musk as a visionary hero, a complex anti-hero, or something else entirely? So who is Elon Musk? Is he the flawed protagonist of a modern myth, a man whose profound loneliness fuels an ambition to connect humanity to the stars? Is he a ruthless operator whose personal needs and whims dictate the trajectory of companies that hold the future in their hands? Or is he simply a man of immense contradictions, a visionary who can seem startlingly volatile, a powerful builder who feels deeply alone? Perhaps the truth is that he is all of these things at once. He is a man who lives his life in permanent motion, a relentless cycle of self-reported 80-hour work weeks, late-night engineering reviews, and a family life as complex and sprawling as his corporate empire. He embodies the tension between intimacy and obsession, a man who builds machines to connect the world while struggling with the human connections right in front of him. His story forces us to ask an uncomfortable question. What is the true cost of this level of ambition? For him, for the people around him, and for a society that has placed its bets on his vision of the future. He has given his life to his missions, sleeping on factory floors and pouring his soul into lines of code and rocket designs. But the private world behind the public myth suggests a steep price, strained relationships, public controversies, and a man who, despite being at the center of the world's attention, may still be that lonely boy searching for a connection, this time on a cosmic scale. The ultimate unresolved question is not whether he will get us to Mars, it's what kind of humanity we will be if he does.